Last time I camped on the edge of Imperial Valley in southeastern California and was blown away by a desert sandstorm. And once we finished cleaning the bus and my lungs from all the sand, we returned up to the sand dunes where the storm had originated. And the dude and I walked around these massive sand dunes, the likes that I'd never seen. And shortly after visiting the sand dunes, this is the place where we were camped before, and after we left there we went to the sand dunes, which is in this area here, and filled the tanks with some water at a rest area which is in the middle of the interstate, just down the road. So free water. You can stay there overnight, but I think they strongly discourage camping there because there's a limited amount of space. But right there in the center, you can get some free water, fill your tanks, and just beside the rest area is the sand dune Imperial Recreation Area. Anyway, very expensive camping, and I think the minimum is a week. And shortly after we visited the park, we moved just across the interstate into the Picacho Wilderness area. We found a fantastic camping spot on the edge of a wash, and shaded from the wind by some very large mountains in the background. Very interesting spot. It was the edge of a wash, but it also had a very interesting gravesite of a former pet, somebody lost in the desert. And from a recent experience with the dude wandering off in the darkness in the desert where it's pitch black, I was very prepared this time. So I bought him a blinking dog collar that he wore when we walked at night, and I also purchased a very bright xenon torch, so if I had trouble finding him, I could just shine the light in the desert. Made me feel a whole lot better. Strange and unusual rainstorms last night. Didn't think it was really going to rain. Just kind of sprinkled there for a while, and then it started sprinkling for a few hours. Occasionally on and off. But eventually, yeah, I think it was about 8 hours. It just kept raining. But it was nice. It was very nice. I like rain like that, especially when it's at night. I sleep very well in the rain. Well, of course, I pulled out my motorcycle once again because that is my thing, and I apologize for those folks who are not really into motorcycles as much as I am. But it gives you a chance to see what's out here, and a lot of this I speed up a good bit so you don't have to endure all the droning motorcycle video. But just so much of this stuff is just so spectacular that I think that I need to share it with everybody, just so you can see what's out here. If you ride a bicycle, mountain bike, if you like four-wheelers, four-wheel drives, anything like that, or if you just like hiking, a lot of this stuff is maybe even more accessible if you like to hike. But I just think that there's one way to see a lot of this stuff, and this is my favorite way to see via motorcycle. That's kind of how I've shaped my life. But I roll up here and I spotted some holes in the rock again, and you know, my fascination with mines and caves, and so I roll over to check out the first of many caves that I found up here. And this was just really interesting. It turned out it was very warm in the cave, unlike most of the time. Most of the caves I've been in, or the mine shafts I've been in, are very cold. This one was very warm because it was very cold outside, but didn't go very far into the hole because, like usual, I don't have a flashlight. So it's rainy out, and I had to spend the day inside my warm, toasty cave. I think it's about 70 degrees in here. Outside, it's not too bad. It's 55, 60. But, you know, back inside a cave, I don't guess I can ever get out of these. This is actually not on public land. This is, I think, private property, but it's not posted. I think it's just probably an old mining, whatever, community village. But this is a very small opening that opens up into a little bit bigger chamber, but I wasn't expecting to go caving today, so I didn't bring a flashlight. One of these days I'm going to prepare. Maybe I should just leave a big torch on the bike. I don't know. But as you can see, it's very overcast. It's probably going to remain that way the rest of the day, but I'm going to keep riding. There's one shaft right there. There's another one up there, and there's another one right around the corner. This place is eat up with mine shafts. A little bit close to the edge here. What a spectacular day, even though it's overcast. It reminds me of New Zealand, or at least Mordor. Another shaft right here. Another one right up there. Let's see what else we can find down here. looks like something has collapsed right here. Well, fuck yeah, this is cool as shit. So it took me a little struggle getting up the hill. It's not exactly smooth, and it's fairly narrow for a 4-track, and slopes off instead of a good shelf road that slopes in towards the mountain. It slopes out in a couple points, kind of gnarly. But as you can see, this appears to be an old collapsed shaft, and I'm thinking maybe it was a pretty big one because there's all kinds of scrap still up here. Big scrap that you don't see in other places, and cable, and it just looks like a big hole, and that's probably why it collapsed. It was too big and probably unsupported. If anybody was in there when it collapsed, I imagine they're probably still in there. That's a lot of effort to get that shit out of there. But definitely worth the effort to get up here. So I came from over there, and sometimes you got to climb up to see what all's around you, and that's where I was riding earlier. Looks like an old copper mine, as far as I can tell, and all that greenish blue stuff looks like copper ore. I'm guessing. I'm just, novice geology guy. So, but turned out to be a pretty spectacular day for riding. It's just the right temperature, just a little bit of sprinkling going on, and lots of crazy riding to do. I wish there was some more stuff that I could get over. I would like to see some passes that we could actually cross, and just something breathtaking about crossing a big pass like that and going over and seeing the other side. If we did it today, though, we'd probably just see clouds until we got down below the clouds, but still, it's pretty cool. But this is kind of hard to beat. Getting up to the old mine shaft. I wish we could go down in this one. This one looks like this was pretty cool. Maybe we can climb around a little bit and see if we can find anything interesting. Ask for interesting in Arizona and you shall receive. I don't know if you can see it over there. There's the shaft. So obviously it's a collapsed shaft, and there's a monster load of rock hanging over my head, so this may just be dangerous in itself, walking up to this point. I don't know. But I would like to look. Well, no, I'm not going to be able to crawl down that tunnel anyway, so, because I'm old and lazy. But yeah, there's enough rock over my head right now to kill me. So let's go find some less crazy looking stuff to explore. What do you say? Looks like there's plenty of it out there. So before I left the Picacho, I did have a chance to play around with some of my new welding equipment and try to teach myself how to weld. I did determine that either my generator was not powerful enough to do some proper welding. I'm just using a cheap stick welder, but it seemed like it pulled a lot of power off of the generator. But it seems to work a lot better with a constant feed of alternating current rather than a generator. But yeah, like I said, it's just a cheap stick welder. But I did have fun trying to learn how to weld for the first time, and you're seeing my first attempt here, and it was kind of funny. So join me next time when we drive up to Quartzsite, Arizona, and hang out for the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, which is a really interesting seminar camping event. I think it's usually a week or two with classes on how to be a nomad, or a rubber tramp as they like to call themselves. And this is quite an interesting group of van dwellers, car dwellers, RV dwellers, and they all have arrived to learn and share how to live well in a vehicle.